Through a strange twist of fate, I was at a wedding this weekend with my ex-BF Buzz FN and his wife Polly FN. For context, we dated 20 years ago. I was 21 when we broke up and he was 26. We dated for 2 years. I was very close to his family during this time, but after the very sudden breakup, left without an explanation. This was before the era of social media. Hell, I think I might have had a Nokia I occasionally used when I remembered to buy minutes. So we could instantly get in touch with people, nor did we know WTF was going on in everyone's lives. At the wedding, I see him and his entire family. I didn't realize that my friend was marrying into the family different names and really didn't talk to the girl much. It was a shock to everyone. I expected awkwardness at the reception, but his family was being cool to me, which was strange. But whatever. I not want to force myself onto someone if I not want it important for later. Eventually, Polly is trashed and pulls me aside. She wants to thank me for leaving Buzz alone after our breakup. I thrown by the strange comment, but drunk people say strange things. I say, yeah, no problem. She continues to say, he was heartbroken when you cheated, but I convinced him you were just a whore and to get over you. I laughed and said, what are you talking about? He cheated on me because I chose studying for a final instead of going out and getting drunk. I left the reception without another word to anyone on his side of the family. I went over and kissed my friend goodbye, citing a migraine which I am prone to get. No drama. Now family members who got my cell number from our mutual friend or found me on FB are messaging me like crazy. Rewind 20 years ago. When learned about the cheating the very next day from his BFF who hated me. I called Buzz for the truth and he said I coming home now. We all talk in a few. That told me all I needed to know. So I got my few items I kept at his place and left before he got there. Like I said earlier, I not going to force myself if I not wanted. Buzz didn't want me, otherwise he would and have done that. So why bother with waiting for the fucking excuses? 4 months later I refused to answer calls. When he came to my dorm, he was immediately denied admission and escorted out as I had him put on a no-visitor list. He was a student. Apparently for these last 20 years, his family that loved me was told that I was a cheating whore and his BFF who masterminded the whole cheating setup, seconded Buzz's story. Now, everyone is pissed at him for hurting me and lying to them for 20 years. They trying to full story, but I just keep saying it 20 years ago. It doesn't matter anymore. I good and Buzz is good. Some family has apologized for icing me out at the wedding and spreading the rumors. Polly though is freaking out. She convinced that because he cheated on me, he'll cheat on her and keeps calling me for more info. Our last conversation I said that I was blocking her and have. She tried to call me from an app though a few times, but I just not picking up numbers I don't know at this point. Update. So, I called Polly a little bit over an hour ago and it very anticlimactic. I talked to Polly and she wanted to know dates that he was still chasing me. I told her what I could recall and it seems that there was a few months gap between them meeting and his last attempt. I assured her that never once since social media became a thing did Buzz try to reach out to me. She said that about 6-7 years ago, she found out that Buzz had tried to find me on FB by stalking some of my old friends he knew, which added to her paranoia. They went to marriage counseling and all that. Polly was exceptionally talkative. Apparently, Buzz was a mess. Went deep into alcohol and even screwed around with heroin, introduced to him by none other than BFF who OD a few years after all this went down. Polly hated and was hated by BFF, and when he tried to come between Polly and Buzz a bit into their relationship, Buzz saw BFF was a massive and went NC. She said that she didn't mean to accost me at the wedding, but she always been insecure about me. She was drunk and those first years of insecurity all came back to her. She said I was prettier than her, saw pics that he had stashed away or in family photo albums, while she always felt deformed because of a repaired cleft palate. She is very pretty and I reassured her. She said that the family was in disbelief over my very sudden abandonment, and a few times shortly into their relationship his family would slip and call her my name, or she hear them reminiscing about a family vacation I was on with them, or how good a few dishes I made were. She also said that Buzz did confirm that he cheated, followed by a bunch of excuses. I said that I really didn't care to hear what he told her. I did say that I wish him no ill will and I truly glad that he settled down and found happiness. But I done with this. I don't want to reconnect with any family members. I don't want her calling to commiserate with his wrongdoings. I just want to return to our very separate lives. She did ask how I found the strength to just leave like that. I told her that I had an amazing role model mother, strong support system of family and friends, we had no shared resources to divide, and I have a low tolerance for bullshit. Polly was quiet and said thank you. We then hung up. Of course now I wondering if she thinking Buzz is cheating on her and that why she asked me about strength. I blocked her again so I'll never know. I do wish her all the best, but I'm going to return to my apathetic life.
Second story.
Last Friday I 34F, spent my evening with obligatory fake name Kate, a young friend 24F. From work, as she wanted to discuss something personal with me. I didn't think anything of it as we do have a very personal relationship outside of work as well. As soon as I arrived to her place the tension in the air was thick. She explained that she wanted to discuss a serious matter with me but that she didn't know how to go about it. I told her to just rip the band-aid off and tell me. She told me that she had found 2 recordings of a woman she believed to be me on a pornographic website. I told her that WOULD be possible but she was adamant that I was the woman in the recording, and she was right. I never recorded myself naked or having sex with my husband, but there I was in 2 recordings of 7 minutes and 4 minutes, both of them recorded in our old bedroom. As I rewatched every second of it, it starts to dawn on me that this was my husband's doing. But I pushed it deep down because there must be a reasonable explanation for this. Honestly, I left her place with my mind in a complete meltdown. I could barely hear what she was saying, but she did follow up with a text saying she'd been in contact with the website about getting it taken down and that she'll help me go through this. She also said she's scouring the internet in case there are more out there. I came home and pretty much ransacked my house looking for evidence, and I found it. My husband was using a hidden spy cameras to spy on me and record me in my most intimate moments. I then just spent hours vomiting, crying, projectile vomiting some more and begging God to just let this be a nightmare. I am a deeply religious and a fully veiled Muslim woman, and I never been with anyone but my husband, and all this time he has been sharing my most intimate moments with the world. I don't know what to think or what to do. I can look at him or speak to him. I've locked myself in our bedroom pretending I have COVID. All I do is look up how other people have dealt with getting things removed, and it seems like once it's on the internet it really is forever. Even if I remove it from this one website. I've been crying non-stop. He truly must be something demonic, as he is right now talking about ordering in some of my favorites to see if I have an appetite since I haven't been eating well. I'm so unbelievably hurt. I don't know how to share this with my family, how to ask for help. I am crippled with shame, anger and pain. Update 1. I left him as I said I would. He went to work. The movers arrived. We packed my stuff and we left. The entire time I was crying to the point that even the movers was worried for me, but I could and stopped myself from crying. I went home, sat my parents and siblings down, and explained the situation. My parents were and still are confused. They are elderly and fragile. They don't understand the internet. They just keep saying okay, let's talk to the people and it will be gone. But my siblings understand. They are angry. They are sad and heartbroken on my behalf. My siblings and brother-in-laws took me home. We waited for him and we had a conversation with him. He denied it at first, so my brothers were firm with him and he started to be more truthful. He said he did it because he was depressed, because he had a addiction, and because he didn't think anyone would see it. He said he posted only a few. When we asked him to be specific, he said he posted anything from 5 to 8. We had him take it down, but who knows how many times it has been downloaded or shared. In that moment I also found out he had a secret phone. He was also cheating on me with random women and workers. All this time I was thinking he working hard, but nope, he was out disgracing himself and betraying our marriage. At some point he convinced us he needed to use the bathroom and he somehow managed to call his mother, who arrived at our home with his brother and cousins. There was a commotion as they were angry at the treatment of their family member. Then things calmed down enough to explain to them what he had done. His mother fainted. His mother is elderly and not in the greatest health condition. We called for an ambulance. My neighbor had also called the police and I was arrested by the time the ambulance arrived to take care of my mother-in-law. I spent the evening locked up. Didn't exactly have polite conversation with him. So yes, I was arrested for assaulting him, specifically slapping him, and he refused to press charges. Got released the next morning and went home to my parents. Cried some more because my parents kept crying. Then a few days later I spoke to some lawyers my sister had contacted as they had experience with non-consensual material being posted online. They have been handling things with the police as I did press charges, and they are dealing with the websites. I also have started the process of divorce. I went to the clinic and got tested, and luckily he didn't give me anything so far, but I have another test scheduled just to make sure. I have spoken to his mother and she apologized to me even though it's not her fault. She told me that she understood why I want him punished. She asked that I let it stay in the hands of the law rather than I hurt him or have him hurt. He in hiding, but he still calls and texts me from random numbers. He still lies and tries to manipulate me. I.e. just been documenting everything he says and texts to me. Oh, at this point everyone knows. I mean everyone, even little kids. And I feel more humiliated now than I did at first. Update 2. This man has destroyed everything I have worked for and has completely destroyed the very little sense of stability and safety I had left. I had to resign from my job, a job that I loved. Jobs don't come easy for me with the way that I look. I can't work there anymore because I am a potential danger to the children and staff. Since perverted men have started to harass me at work. I work with vulnerable children, and mothers who have heard about me have started to refuse me working with their children. Some don't want me to be involved with their child because their husbands can stop being weird. Fathers have leered at me or made lewd comments toward me, and one of them even offered me money to sleep with him. Men have catcalled me with greater frequency than ever before. Men stare at me. A man followed me from my dentist office and groped me on the street. Random men call my phone, my family home and office to verbally abuse me because my husband has posted my address, my personal and work email, phone numbers, workplace address and every other bit of information online. It is as if the eyes and judgment of the entire world is on me. Yes, the great majority of people are sympathetic, kind and in support of me. Many people have reached out in support of me, from old classmates to former colleagues, neighbors, members of my religious community, family, friends. His family and many more have expressed solidarity and kindness, but the crazies and perverts who believe him and are like him are bolder, louder and much more noticeable. Then I find out from my lawyers and their investigators that he was drugging me and assaulting me as I slept. I suffer from migraines and insomnia and take medication for it. He saw my medication as an opportunity to drug me with my own prescriptions. He shared was actually bragging on a forum where other perverts congregate how he was so clever for drugging me with my own medication, and they were encouraging him to do more things to me. Soon-to-be ex-husband has also decided to spread rumor that I was aware of the cameras and pressured him into posting online, and there are people who believe him. He also changed his mind about not pressing charges. I went to court. The judge and prosecutors were sympathetic and dismissed the case. It was a combination of my lawyers explaining the circumstances that led to me slapping him and his subsequent actions, threatening me, attacking me, doxing me and blackmailing me by saying he didn't care about the slap and that he would drop everything if I forgave him. My lawyers used his own words against him since he wrote it in text, and on a recorded call he admitted to me not having slapped him that hard and that he only pressed charges to cause me harm. But his crimes against me are still being investigated by the prosecutors. Update 3. I wish I could say I was feeling better or doing better, but I feel awful and I am still struggling with everything. It is still his life mission to be as cruel as he can be and to stand in the way of every step I make. He is still refusing to work with my divorce lawyer. He continues to be difficult every step of the way and has run off his own lawyers. He is now on his third lawyer and we are again starting from scratch in the divorce negotiations. He has been granted an extension by the courts due to his last lawyer just dropping him a few days before our hearing. As for posting non-consensual material, a trial date was scheduled and he recently asked for an extension and he'll probably be granted it as his criminal lawyer dropped him too. So in last month he has been dropped by his divorce lawyer and his criminal lawyer. The man is on a roll. When it rains it sure pours. My father passed a little over a month ago and my mother is now in hospice care. She is soon to go back to God. I sad but not shocked about this as I had a long time to prepare for it. My father had been battling cancer for almost 3 years and so was as prepared as a person can be, and my mother's health had been declining significantly for years due to her dementia. Soon-to-be ex-husband decided it was a great idea to corner me at the venue we held the after-funeral meal at. He decided to wait for me to be alone. He approached me as I was cleaning up the venue. I was on my own and at that time I was kind of exhausted and could not muster up the rage to chase him off as I had done many times before. So I just let him talk. He seemed almost decent as he was giving his million excuses on why things were the way they were. He cried about how awful he feels for hurting me. Then he started telling me about how he always felt I was better than him in everything as I made more money, was better educated, had been better traveled than him, and that he felt jealous of my confidence and how in the beginning these were things that he was most attracted to, but as our relationship and marriage progressed these were the things he started to dislike about me. He also said that he was angry that I refused to consider being a stay-at-home wife and mother even though he knew from the beginning that I was and the stay-at-home homemaker type. He said that he tried to be a good husband but that my refusal to bend or let him have the last say in things was the catalyst for his anger and need to humiliate me. He talked about how he had always had an addiction issues but he thought that if he was married he would be cured of his depression, his sex addiction, and he felt like if I ever found out I would never married him and or would divorce him, and that angered him and pushed him to want to punish me for thinking I was better than him. He was jealous and angry about so many things. But when I said to him, "So you hurt me because you felt jealous and inadequate in comparison," he lost his mind and started to shout and say that he knew I would react that way. I decided to refrain from commenting further and just let him spill his guts uninterrupted. For 3 hours he made excuse after excuse for why he did what he did. But it all comes down to him feeling inferior to me, him being jealous and angry that I dared have a mind and life of my own. He said right before our wedding he joined a men group online that were helping him deal with his porn and sex addiction, and one tip given was to make your own porn and watch that instead, but he knew I never agreed to it, so it was my fault. He needed to spy on me and that he never intended to share it with others, but one day I had angered him so much and as payback he posted it and he felt good. And so every time I emasculated him by having my own mind or upset him in some way or another he would post more. Eventually he gained a following and had so many men asking him to post more he started to like the fact that other men looked up to him for his sexual prowess, and at the same time his sex addiction started to come back and he fell back into his habit of picking up women, and when he could and get it for free, he hire a sex worker. Then I guess it spiraled out of control for him. The more he spent on his addictions, the more lies he told, the more he felt like a failure for me covering our expenses, the more he resented me, and he got stuck in a cycle of self-destruction which in turn only fueled his anger with me. He also says he joined a support group for addicts and started going to an addiction rehabilitation clinic as an outpatient to deal with his issues, and that I should give him credit for that. He feels that I should be proud of him for doing that and that I should take him back since he putting in so much work. He also feels I should appreciate him not stalking me since my dad died, and he is sincere in feelings this way. He genuinely does and understand why I not seeing how hard he been trying the past few months. In his deluded mind he thinks that his honesty in our conversation should count for something and that I am just being a heartless bitch for having been stoic and unmoved by his tears and his show of vulnerability. Even though he gave a great performance of being human during our conversation, I remained unmoved by it because there was nothing to be moved about. I just continued to pack things up from the venue and got in my car and went home. I still not working, I still have crazy men calling my phone at all hours of the day and I still feel humiliated and embarrassed. The only good thing that has happened is that several of the sites have taken down the recordings and banned him from using their platform. Curses are like young chickens, they always come home to roost. Aug 24, 2023. Finally, I have some good news. So a while back I was granted a restraining protective order and my now officially ex-husband did continue to stalk and harass me. After the umpteenth time of calling the police and going to court, he was finally imprisoned and he has been in prison for a little over a month. I was also granted my divorce. I initially wanted a quick divorce and wanted to just give him everything he asked for, but he kept finding ways to delay or asking for more and more, and I just snapped. So I told my lawyers to do their worst and they did. My lawyers hated him and I got everything I wanted and way more. Not to gloat, but it was really satisfying seeing him cry. This has been the most peaceful month I had in a long time. This entire time has been such a trying time and it has affected my mental and physical health. I lost 12 kilograms and I lost a ton of hair due to the stress he was causing me. But I can honestly say that him wailing in court was the chicken soup my soul needed. I moved from my city and now live on the other side of the country and I gotten myself a decent enough job. I am slowly mending my confidence. I am in therapy and I can say it working right now, but I know if I stick with it, it will. The non-consensual material he posted has been removed from the more reputable websites he posted on and my lawyers were able to get me monetarily compensated as these companies didn't want to go to court over it. I mean money does and really change things that much and I am still hurt, but it's something. I also not so delusional as to think that it isn't still out there in some way or another, and I know there really isn't much I could ever do about that. So I just trying to make peace with it. Ex-husband will be serving time in prison for what he did. My lawyers are working with the courts and that should be sorted soon enough. I think the reality of the consequences are becoming very clear to him, as I have heard through the grapevine that he attempted to commit suicide and is now in protective custody until his trial date. He is facing up to 30 years and corporal punishment and I absolutely look forward to it.
Third story.
So yeah, I know I messed up. I 32 cheated on my wife 29 3 years ago. We have been married for 5 years. In the second year of our marriage I cheated on her in a drunken fling. She forgave me and we went to marriage counseling. But 3 days ago, while my wife was in the shower, I went through her phone and found the texts confirming she was cheating. I felt so betrayed, so I confronted her after she got out of the shower. She claims that it's okay because I cheated on her and I set the precedent for allowing infidelity. I told her that my cheating was a one-time drunken thing and that I haven't done anything since. I also told her that I don't know the girl and that she now has a relationship with this guy IDK. She got mad and stormed off. She left for work Friday and I haven't seen her since. I know she with him and it hurts. I feel I deserve this, but at the same time I want my wife back. What do I do? Update 1. Okay, wow, so a small portion of you were kind and understanding and actually gave good advice, but the rest of you are so rude. So I finally managed to get a hold of her. She basically told me it's over and that she no longer loves me. I managed to track her location and find out who the person she cheating on me with, and Dave, if you read this, fuck you. I honestly can wait to get divorced now. Update 2. My 32 wife 29 HAS and come home since the day I confronted her, so I went to her HR team today with proof that she was cheating with Dave. According to some close friends who work with her, when HR pulled her aside after I left, she came out crying, and when Dave tried to talk to her she pushed him aside and left for the day. This brings me so much joy. I have to have respect for myself because that guy who cheated 3 years ago doesn't exist anymore. I quit drinking, got into great shape and haven't felt better. Obviously the last week has been tough, but knowing hers is about to get so much worse brings a smile to my face. Also, she going to be getting served sometime this week. I wish I could be there to see her face. Also, it a bonus if Dave and her break it off. Update 2. So those who saw my last post know what up, and you can read it if you don't, but since the last update my soon-to-be ex-wife lost her job, lost her boy toy, and lost a lot of friends. She showed up yesterday asking to talk, to which I laughed in her face and shut the door. I know a lot of you think me a monster and a terrible guy, but I do see what you think. Her world is collapsing and all I can do is laugh. She earned and deserves all of it. I know I cheated 3 years ago, but she forgave me and I had to learn to love myself again. She had a full-blown affair for months on end and she flat out told me she does and loved me. I was willing to forgive at first, but now after everything, no, I can forgive her. I have too much respect for myself. Update 3. Sue, I fucked up. I just got a call from my lawyer and my wife found my Reddit posts with help from who I thought was a friend. My ex-friend recorded me while I was telling him about the Reddit posts. My lawyer told me she wanting half of everything. I don't understand how or why my friend did this, but here we are. I feel like I even stabbed in the back twice. First from my wife and now him. I don't know what will happen, but now I feel less confident about my divorce. I still feel like I can win though, and my lawyer said we still stand a really good chance at it. I called my friend and asked him why he recorded me, and he told me that he respects women and was upset at how I was treating my wife. He told me until I go to therapy again and get some help he does and want to be friends with me because I'm not the same person he became friends with. I don't know what to think anymore. Update 4. So the last few months have not gone well for me. Ever since my friend betrayed me, everything has gone downhill. I basically owe my wife half of everything. Because I got my wife fired and because I posted everything on Reddit, the judge ruled that I had essentially ruined her reputation, so she got the house because it paid off and she has nowhere else to live. My lawyer tried to get the judge to rule for us to sell the house, but the judge wouldn't budge. My lawyer says that I should try to sue my friend for defamation because my wife now has my posts and has been sending my Reddit posts to all my friends and family, and basically everyone has distanced themselves from me. I don't know if I win that lawsuit because they have proof that I did post it. I don't know what to do from here, but I think have a lot of self-reflecting to do. Oh, also a lot of you were right that my friend has started to hook up with my ex-wife, so there that. I'll let you guys know if I want to go through with suing my friend, but as of right now that all I got to update you guys with.
Fourth story.
My wife 44F, and I 43M. Have been married 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year, and have lived together since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school, not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college room commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got real quiet and the rest of the dinner was awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said I should have an honest conversation about what happened at college. I asked my wife on the way home and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance and she didn't think a high school romance would last. I pressed for more details and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family is telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable no matter when it happened, and the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going crazy with the amount of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. Update 1. First, let's talk about the things I learned about the situation in college. After talking to my wife in sessions and texting with 2 of her roommates, it's clear that her roommates knew something was up in college. They said though the situation was weird and likely involved cheating. My wife had told them that we both had some wild times in college and worked it out before we got married, so they never really brought it up. The roommate who pulled me aside recently was uncomfortable with the fact that my wife clearly didn't talk it through with me, and wanted me to know. As far as being introduced to guys she slept with, apparently that was not intended. For one of the guys, he ended up dating and then marrying one of our mutual friends from college. This is the guy she was in contact with. In the other situations, she initially blamed me in the counseling session, but has now agreed it was bad. When I went to visit her, she planned to hang out in the room or just hang out together alone, but I wanted to go to a few parties because in HS and community college, I didn't really have parties to go to. She didn't expect me to meet the guys, but they were at the parties and she felt she didn't really have a choice. I still think this is kind of shitty, but it's not as bad as her intentionally parading me in front of the guys. Most of our discussion in therapy has been talking about why I think it's a big deal and she doesn't. She initially said that none of these guys were in relationships with her and it was mostly one-night stands or FWB. Since she didn't view them as romantic relationships, she didn't see the big deal. Her words, not mine. My opinion is that we never said that was okay and she actively prevented me from doing the same. After digging into this across 2 sessions, and my wife talking to some friends, she now agrees that it was a breach of our trust relationship. This is the shared understanding that has helped us talk about this situation more honestly and helped us get from arguing to talking, which is why I'm optimistic about co-parenting. Now, here's why I'm 100% set on divorce. 2 things came up that make me want to leave the marriage. First, about 10 years ago we went through a really rough patch and had a dead bedroom for about 2 years. She had expressed that our sex life was becoming boring, so I tried to spice things up. Nothing crazy, just roleplay and like Spencer's gift level sex toys. Apparently, she had been hung up some experiences that happened in college that she is not comfortable talking about and wanted me to try them, but when I did it made her feel awkward and guilty that it made her think of other men while she was with me. The fact that she's saying these experiences were meaningless, but they're still impacting our marriage, tells me they meant more than she wants to say. Second, she admitted that she has been flirting with co-workers on business trips since the pandemic ended. She says she has never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male co-workers. That was the absolute deal breaker for me. We have told our children that we're getting a divorce. We told them it was due to some bad decisions that we made in college that we're having trouble moving past. My 19-year-old who is in college asked me if I cheated on my wife while she was away at college. My wife got a little shaken up, but admitted to the kids that she's the one who cheated. We have agreed to not share any additional details with the kids. I reinforced that both us will be there for the kids and that we are in therapy to help make sure we handle this in the best way for the family. I also told the kids that if they wanted to talk to either of us or a therapist about it, that I would fully support it. We've started talking to a mediator about how to proceed with the divorce, and unless things change, we should be able to have an amicable divorce. We're both financially stable on our own, we have no major debts, and our kids are older, so custody isn't a major issue. This has been a shitty couple of months for me, but I'm doing okay now, and I honestly am grateful that my last post blew up because it both validated some of my feelings, but also motivated me to go to counseling with my wife.
5th story.
My girlfriend and I have been dating for a little over 3 years. Everything was great until about 6 months ago. We stopped having as much sex as we used to, and I'll admit that was mostly my fault. Work got really stressful and I had some family issues I had to deal with, and unfortunately my relationship suffered a bit. We talked and I promised to put more effort into us. I do think things have gotten better overall, but I know we both still have room for improvement. Despite everything, I absolutely love this girl and don't want to lose her. Last night my girlfriend told me she was going to the club with some friends after work. I didn't think anything of it. They do this from time to time, so whatever. Last night around 11 p.m. my sister sent me some texts saying she saw my girlfriend and my friend making out at the club. I didn't believe her, and she said that when she went to grab her phone to get proof they had stopped but were still dancing very intimately and did manage to get a couple of pictures. It made me very uncomfortable. I asked if they left together and she said she doesn't know. Here's my problem with all this. About 4 years ago, my sister told me she had a crush on my friend. She confessed to him and he turned her down, hard apparently. He told her she's not his type and she's way too young. According to him, she was persistent and he ended being a little mean about it. She was really hurt by it, and even now she refuses to speak to him. It took her a whole year before she could even be in the same room as him. As far as I know, she has a decent relationship with my girlfriend. They aren't friends but are friendly. This morning I sent the pictures in a text to my girlfriend and my friend and asked WTF was this. They both said all they did was dance. I told them they looked really close and that it was really inappropriate. She told me I'm being paranoid. I told them what my sister said she saw, and after a bit of arguing my girlfriend said I either believe her or my sister. I told her I don't know what to believe and that I need time to think, and she said, whatever. I messaged my friend privately and asked him to explain everything. I basically begged him and he hasn't messaged me. Not answering me feels like a sign of guilt. I don't think my sister would like about this, but there is a part of me that thinks she might have saw an opportunity to hurt my friend for hurting her. Or maybe I'm just being naive. I'm really not sure what advice I'm looking for. I just don't know how to go forward. Update 1. So I figured I'd give an update to what happened. They never texted me back at all. I probably would never have heard from either of them if I hadn't told them I just wanted the truth. They agreed to come over Monday night and explain everything. The long and short of it is that they did go back to his place and had sex, but claim it was the first time. About 4 months ago they ran into one another after her and I had a particularly bad fight that I don't remember, and he noticed she was upset, so he took her out for lunch and they talked about our relationship and me. They exchanged numbers. She ended up texting him about 2 weeks later after I went fishing with some friends for the weekend, and apparently have been texting daily and hanging out 2-3 times a week. She went to extreme detail about exactly how I pushed her away these last 6 months. I told her I thought things got better after we talked about everything, and she claims it got better for about 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then it was right back to where it was. I asked why she didn't bring it up again and she claims she did. I told her regardless she should have just broken up with me and that cheating on me shouldn't have been her response to what was happening between us. She agrees she fucked up but says I share blame in all this as well. I asked her if it was just sex between the two of them and they both said no. I also asked why not just tell me the truth when I confronted them with the pictures, and they said they panicked. I asked him if he has anything he wanted to add and he said he's sorry it happened the way it did, but he's not sorry that it happened. I told him there are dozens of women out there he could have gone for. Regardless of the problems between her and me, he didn't have to go for my girlfriend. He said she hasn't been my girlfriend for 4 months. I told them to get out. I don't really know how I'm feeling right now. I hated them when they walked in and when they left, but now I don't know. I went to remove her from social media last night and she had a picture on her Instagram of the two of them. I skimmed through the comments and some people were asking what happened to me. People were congratulating them and saying they looked cute together. So that didn't feel great. I also apologized to my sister for throwing her under the bus. I didn't realize that I did that until some people commented that that's exactly what I did. She said she doesn't care if it meant finding out the truth and getting them out of my life. I'm probably staying single for a while. Some people suggested therapy. Maybe that's something to explore down the line. Anyway, that's it.
Sixth story.
I almost cheated on my wife due to sexual frustration. I went on a business trip out of state and there I met a woman at a bar. We started chatting and felt the spark. We exchanged numbers and did exchange some flirty texts and she invited me over to her house. I was planning to go but I didn't. I just went outside, got hammered and slept it off. A week ago my wife went through my phone and discovered those texts. I confessed and told her what happened. She didn't believe that I didn't FCK her. She called me a cheater, which yes, technically I am more of a semi-cheater. Last week was basically her ignoring me. Day before yesterday she asked for divorce and I agreed without any resistance. Our marriage should have ended the moment our life went to shit. I wasted years on the marriage which was destined to doom anyways. I was never the one who hold on to shitty relationship. I was always willing to walk away when relationship was not right for me. She was the only woman I didn't think of leaving. She was special to me, that's why I married her, and the thought of leaving her never came across my mind. It made me give a dead-end relationship more time than it deserved. So I told her that I also think it's time we end the sham that we call a marriage. I am also somewhat glad all this happened, otherwise I would have sleepwalked through my life in a marriage that made me miserable. I also feel lucky that I didn't actually had sex with the woman at my work trip. Even when I look back I can't believe I made the right decision to not go through with it. I don't even know why I stopped. It was pure luck. My wife took my acceptance for her proposal of divorce as a sign that I actually cheated. She accused me of wanting to run back to my WH and abandon our children. She didn't believe me before, so I was in no mood of correcting her. I will not be abandoning our kids. I did decide to apologize to that woman. I apologized for ghosting her and gave the excuse that I was drunk and fell asleep, which is true. She replied with no worries and a gif of a dog drinking champagne, which was very nice for her to do. I don't think I will meet her ever again, so I don't think she needs to know more than that. I think maybe I will tell her about it after divorce. My wife demanded to see my phone and I gave it to her. She saw the text of me apologizing and her reply and got mad at me. She said I am scheming with that woman to gaslight her into thinking that I didn't cheat. She has actually accused me of gaslighting her for stupid things before, but this time it would have actually made sense if it was true. I said to her that if she does not have to believe me to divorce me, quit the opposite, which made her more mad. I don't even know how to get through to my wife. I would have left the house if I didn't have kids, but I can't do that for now. Update. So I took some of your advice and decided to create proper boundaries. I basically told her that I am not her punching bag and I will not discuss anything if she does not engage in calm and respectful way. I also told her that since we are getting a divorce that she is not allowed to ask for or look at my phone anymore. She needs to respect my privacy since what I do from now is none of her business. She went kinda mad, stomping around, banging doors, etc., but I ignored her. I basically refused to engage with her. She calmed down after some time and asked me if I had seriously had sex with that other woman, and I replied with the truth that I hadn't, and she is free to not believe me if that's what she wants. She then started blaming me for not talking about how important sex was for me. I did talk. She blamed me on not taking her on dates. I took her on plenty dates, and all other excuses that even she didn't believe if I am being honest. There was no conviction in her voice. I said to her that I do not care anymore what her reasons were and who is to blame. It's a moot point. It's not the time to look back. It's time to move forward. She floated the idea of therapy and I rejected it because I don't see a value in pouring thousands of dollars into it for them to tell me that I should have left her years ago. I am taking hardline approach with my wife now. I basically told her that if she wants to tell others that I had an emotional affair, then she is free to do so. I don't believe it's an emotional affair, but some people here pointed out it is, so I going with it. I told her that we need to get the ball rolling for divorce now and be done with each other. I stand my comment. This marriage is a sham and it should have ended long time ago. I should have ended it long time ago. Now she seems to be obsessed with idea that I am going to FCK the woman I met at the bar. I basically told her that since we are divorcing, who I sleep with is none of her business. And you know what, I would like to engage with her after divorce. Why shouldn't I? She was interested in me. My wife then suddenly decides that she is gonna schedule sex with me, which I rejected. I don't want from her, I want divorce from her. I have never had duty and it just sounds awful. I can get better quality after divorce than shitty from her once a week. I have basically come to realization that there is nothing my wife can do that a new woman can't do better. Better sex, better behavior, better relationship, and better everything. I have been so blind. I wasted so much of my life on this relationship. I could have had better life just by walking away from her, and like a bozo I stayed because I thought she was special. I thought she was special because I loved her, so I ignored how much better my life could have been without her. Now the veil is lifted and I am left with regrets of not ending it sooner. So yes, people were right, that I was being wishy-washy about divorce because I was not 100% sure. Now I am sure that it's right choice for me. So this chapter of my life is over. New one is gonna begin soon.
7 Story.
I 26 recently went to a family gathering for my dad's 49th birthday. But before I get into that, you need to know the backstory with me and my brother 23. This event happened around 3 years ago. Back then, I was dating this girl that I will call Kara 25F. Kara and I were high school sweethearts. She was my everything at the time and I thought I was hers. It was around Thanksgiving time when I found out. I was shopping for desserts for Thanksgiving after staying at a friend's house since I was helping them move. I came home and couldn't find Kara or her stuff. I tried calling her but it went straight to voicemail. I tried her location but it looked like she turned it off. I checked my front door cam and I saw my brother helping her move her things into his car and leaving with her. I then tried to call my brother but he wouldn't answer either. At this point I started to freak out and assume the worst. But then I thought my brother would never do that to me. He was honestly like my best friend when we were kids, and even though we drifted apart kind of when I went to college, I still considered us best friends since we still talk and go out from time to time. I then called my dad and had my dad tell my mom to call my brother and to put it on speaker mode. My brother answered, and when my mom asked him where Kara was, he said she living with me now, she broke up with OP. I felt numb in those words. I thought this was some type of sick joke, so I checked his Facebook and Instagram and saw them holding each other and kissing and I broke down. Why was Kara doing this to me was going through my head all night. But then I was angry. How could my own brother, my best friend, do this to me? I drove up to his house and banged on his, yelling at him to open up. But Kara was the one that opened the door. I wish I could say that I held it together, but I turned into a crying mess once I saw her. Then my brother came from his kitchen and told Kara to go upstairs. That's when he told me that they were having an affair ever since my second year of college and apologized to me for it. But then Kara just came back from the stairs and said that the whole reason why she left me the way she did was because she was sick of pretending to love me. I looked at her and realized that that wasn't the person I fell in love with. That was someone else. I then wondered if this was still worth it. I then realized that it wasn't and walked out. I tried to not be a problematic person and make a scene when I know what I do won't change the outcome of the situation. Don't get me wrong, I was beyond mad at her and my brother, and so cut them out of my life on the spot. Now back to the family gathering. I live in California now and is still single. The family gathering was alright until my brother and his wife walked in with a stroller. Apparently they got married and got busy. I really don't care anymore. I've been through enough therapy to know that I'm not the problem, she is. My brother was trying to strike up a conversation with me but I ignored him, went back to the conversation I was having with one of my aunts. After a couple of hours I forgot they were even there. But when I was heading to the basement to get some more ice cream, my brother followed me and nearly gave me a heart attack. He then awkwardly tried to apologize for what he did to me those 3 years ago and I walked past him. He didn't approach me again that night, but the next day I had gotten multiple texts from my mom telling me to just forgive my brother already. My mom and dad are heavy on the religious side and had already forgave my brother. But I can. He's the entire reason why I have trust issues now. He knew how much she meant to me and still did what he did and expected me to just be okay with it. But I don't think I'll forgive him ever in life. Update: I sat my mom and dad down with my brother in my parents' living room and finally told all of them how I felt. I told them that what my brother did was unforgivable. Not the type of unforgivable that means I'll hate him for the rest of my life, but the type of unforgivable that means that I want utterly nothing to do with him because I don't want a relationship with someone who could sleep with a friend's girlfriend behind his back, much less his brother. That's not the type of person I want to be around. My brother tried to make a rebuttal by saying that he changed and would never do it again. He said it like he didn't marry and have the child of the girl I told him I wanted to marry. I then asked my parents how they were able to forgive him, and they said that they were really disappointed in him for a while, but when he got saved and started preaching they forgave him since he turned a new leaf. I then asked would they still forgive him if they were in the same position as me, and they said that they would have forgiven him eventually. Which I don't believe at all. Anyway, we just went back and forth for a while until my brother said that I shouldn't be holding grudges. I then told him that he shouldn't be sleeping with other people's girlfriends. He then looked at the ground and started to cry. My mom said that what I said is too harsh since he had already repented for his sins. I then gave them the ultimatum most of you told me to do. I then asked my parents how they were able to forgive him, and they said that they were really disappointed in him for a while, but when he got saved and started preaching they forgave him since he turned a new leaf. I then asked would they still forgive him if they were in the same position as me, and they said that they would have forgiven him eventually. Which I don't believe at all. Anyway, we just went back and forth for a while until my brother said that I shouldn't be holding grudges. I then told him that he shouldn't be sleeping with other people's girlfriends. He then looked at the ground and started to cry. My mom said that what I said is too harsh since he had already repented for his sins. I then gave them the ultimatum most of you told me to do. The next day today I decided to download some dating apps to try dating again to really move on from this whole situation. Thanks for listening everyone. If you enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Red Relationships to never miss a future upload.